everybody. There are 120 teams in all of college football. That's right, 120. Even as we speak, the Oklahoma Sooners are ranked above those other 119 teams. Not a bad position to be in for the 2011 season. However, you don't win national championships in August. In fact, those national championship trophies, even as we speak, belong to nobody. However, come January 9th, 2012, those championship trophies are going to belong to somebody. If the Oklahoma Sooners can take care of business on that schedule, take care of those 12 games, with that strength of schedule that they'll have, it doesn't matter what Alabama or Oregon or Boise State or what anybody else does in the country, Sooners will play for the national championship. If they can take care of those 12 games in successful fashion, they'll play in the national title game January 9th in New Orleans, one game away from the school's 8th national championship. A long way to go, however, between now and that particular point. But it all begins Saturday night in Norman, a place where the Sooners have won 36 consecutive games. The Sooners will host Tulsa on September the 3rd, and the game can be seen on FX. That's Channel 35 or Channel 753 if you're in the Oklahoma City area. Again, that game will be on FX, 7 o'clock kickoff Oklahoma time Saturday. Sooners a huge favorite to knock off Tulsa. Before we get into the matchup in particular, let's update you a little bit on the Sooners team as far as some stories we've been trying to follow, including Ronnell Lewis. We still don't know if he's academically right. Had to take some classes over the summertime, as you might know, but those classes ended back on August the 5th. Still don't know if he's qualified academically, even though he's back to practicing and even though he is listed on the depth chart as a starter. We still have not gotten the official word yet verbally from Bob Stoops or anybody from Oklahoma, for that matter, on Ronnell Lewis. Just a reminder, Bob Stoops will have his weekly press conference on Tuesday, August the 30th. So maybe at that particular point he'll say something about Ronnell Lewis that could put the story to rest, but I wouldn't be surprised if Ronnell Lewis's status isn't revealed until the day before or the day of the game. If he cannot go, naturally you lose a terrific defensive end, and you also lose a terrific coverage guy on kick coverage and special teams. David King would get the start at one defensive end along with Frank Alexander at the other. Some good news for Oklahoma if you're a Jamel Fleming fan. You know Fleming last year from his corner position did a good job, but had some issues with academics over the spring and was suspended for the spring and summer semesters, but was allowed to come back this fall. Naturally has done a good job practicing over the month of August, so now he is ahead of Gabe Lynn on the depth chart at one corner along with DeMontre Hurst at the other corner. So you've got Hurst and you've got Fleming covering the outsides. Now let's talk a little bit about this upcoming matchup. The Sooners expected to waylay Tulsa, although Tulsa is a fair football team. They were last year, winning 10 ball games, routing Hawaii in that bowl game in the state of Hawaii. And of course, maybe the highlight of Tulsa's year was winning at the Golden Dome in Notre Dame against the Fighting Irish, something that Tulsa had never done in the program's history. G.J. Kinne is back, the quarterback who at one point in his career was actually a Texas Longhorn 3 years ago, but transferred from Texas to Tulsa in 2008, played in 2009. In fact, was the same quarterback 2 years ago when Tulsa played at Oklahoma, in which the Sooners won that game 45-0, and G.J. Kinne did nothing. I'm not saying he's the entire blame for that loss, because that day nobody did anything for Tulsa in that game back in 2009. He's a much better quarterback now, though. A much better quarterback. In fact, last season, Kinne was named the Conference USA Offensive Player of the Year. Tulsa statistically had one of the best offenses in all of Division I football, and you have a lot of those pieces back. And you imagine if Kinne had stayed at Texas, would he have a legitimate shot at beating out Garrett Gilbert for that starting position at UT? A lot of people think that would have happened. But at that time, Kinne did what was best for him. He knew that he wasn't going to see quality playing time with Colt McCoy already the starter. So Kinne did what was best for him, and it looks like the decision paid off as Kinne. He's matured quite a bit, and he is a dual threat, which we'll talk about in a little bit. One thing that will hurt Tulsa, though, is the absence of Demarus Johnson. This is a guy that was second team All-American last season, led the country, by the way, in all-purpose yardage, and probably their most talented player. However, won't play this Saturday. He has been suspended indefinitely for he and his girlfriend's involvement, I guess, in some embezzlement deal at Macy's department store, in which, under her credit card, he got a lot of items, thousands of dollars of items, and only paid like $12 or $13 for it, allegedly. So I don't know how long Johnson's suspended for, but we know that he is not going to play this Saturday against Oklahoma. Naturally, that's very damaging for Tulsa, not just as far as the hookup between him and Kinne. They make a pretty good quarterback wide receiver tandem, but also you lose a dynamic special teams threat. And let's face it, Oklahoma, when it comes to covering kickoffs, is not the best team in the world, and we'll document that a little bit later on. But not having Johnson is a big blow for Tulsa. They would have been big underdogs anyway, but now they're going to have to come up with another ultimate playmaker, because that's what Johnson is, a playmaker. And maybe Johnson could still have a good year if and when he's reinstated, but not having Johnson for Tulsa, yeah, that's just got to leave a bad taste in your mouth if you're a Golden Hurricane fan. But now new head coach for Tulsa is Bill Blankenship, who had a lot of success as a high school coach in the Sooner State, but has never been a head coach on the collegiate level. So we'll see how he does, along with a new offensive coordinator, because the previous one is now at Clemson. 4 keys to this game, which we'll go over briefly. Number 1, get the ground game going if you're Oklahoma. I can't stress that enough. You could do that, then that means you don't have to reveal a whole lot of your playbook. This is a game where the offensive line can really take over, because Tulsa's defensive front's not the best. The strength of Tulsa's team is their linebackers, not their defensive line, so the Sooners can really take advantage of that and can get the ground game going and then set up the pass game. Number 2, contain G.J. Kinne. He's a threat throwing, but also there'll be some design plays where he can run, and he's a pretty good runner, so the Sooners have to know where he is at all times. And then number 3, special teams. Even though Johnson's not there for Tulsa, the Sooners gave up 4 kickoff returns for touchdowns last year, so can't take anything lightly there. And then number 4, nothing cheap. One good way for an underdog to stick around is by turning the ball over, especially deep in your own territory. So just play disciplined ball if you are the Sooners. By the way, if you've seen Tulsa's schedule this month, you won't find a tougher one in all of college football. At OU, later in the month, at Boise State, and you host Oklahoma State. That's 3 teams in the top 10 that you're playing. Tulsa will be lucky if they do better than 1 and 3 entering Conference USA play. But I do think they'll be a factor in Conference USA. So those are my thoughts on the 4 keys, which we'll go over again on the post-game show. Final thoughts on this game. Tulsa, defensively, I just don't see how they're going to be able to contain Oklahoma. The Sooners have too many options. They're too experienced, too well coached. I think the Sooners are going to score a lot of points in this game. The Sooners will give up some, but Tulsa will give up a lot more. 45-20, that's what I have as the final score, with the Sooners winning comfortably. Even though they've struggled the last 2 years in season openers, I don't think they struggle in this game, and I think Oklahoma will show why they're number 1. And of course, they get 2 weeks to get ready for Florida State, that mega showdown in Tallahassee on September 17th. My post-game show should be late Saturday night, so hope you can catch it. Again, I have Oklahoma winning 45-20. Goodbye for now, and Boomer Sooner.